So, the topic of discussion for today is timeline jumping, astral projecting, and remote viewing. And up until a couple years ago, I thought that they were all the same. I've learned through experience over the last couple of years, they are definitely not the same. So, when you are astral projecting, basically, it's when your soul projects out of your body to a different place. It's not always a timeline. Um, Sometimes it's a place in the same timeline. It can vary where you end up, where you land. My sinuses are driving me crazy today. um, Little side note there. It's pretty windy and it's kicking a bunch of stuff around, and I had the window open earlier. Um, So no, when you astral project, you typically do that when you're sleeping. And when you're sleeping and you get that jerking or that falling feeling, that's when you're astral projecting. That's when your soul is getting yanked back down into your vessel. So you can do that knowingly, you can do that unknowingly. Those of us that are more advanced have the capability to astral project while we are awake. Like I have learned how to be able to astral project when I'm awake. I don't always need to be in a meditation state or have meditative music to do it. A lot of times, if I just focus my energy and kind of just settle my breathing and regulate my nervous system, then I can put myself in the mind space to where I can astral project my soul. My vessel's still here, I'm still lucid, I can still walk and talk and function, but you're basically kind of on like autopilot. So, astral projecting, your soul can be out of your body for um, um, anywhere from seconds to minutes to, I don't quite recall the longest that I've actually astral projected for. It hasn't been long. Like, it's never been long. None of my sessions have ever been long, whether it's something I've tried to do or something that's been accidental. I would say half an hour, maybe an hour. Probably that would be like the longest if you're sleeping. So you can learn to control astral projecting. Um, for me, I just talk to my spirit team and basically make the intention stated to them known that I don't want to land anywhere that's looping or spinning or anywhere that's not for like my greatest highest good. That prevents me from ending up anywhere where an entity or another soul who's also astral projecting can try to hurt me. Um, you can't really ever kill a soul because the energy just changes, but you can definitely harm it. You can infiltrate it, you can fragment it. And if you're not careful and you end up astral projecting to a demonic space, or you come across an entity that wants to harm you for whatever reason, you can end up getting severely damaged. Your soul can take some damage, it can fragment, which makes it very hard to get back to your vessel. So, a lot of times when somebody passes away peacefully in their sleep, that's not really what happens. Typically, what happens is their soul is become fragmented or damaged or diluted in such a manner that it cannot um, adequately in the time that it needs to get back to the vessel, because when your soul leaves your vessel there's only a certain amount of time, and it's not time measured by any human standards or earth standards. It's measured by the time standards um, to the spiritual high council, and it's not even really a time. I just don't know how else to really describe it. It's more of like an energetic frequency deadline that you can kind of feel in your soul. So it doesn't really have anything to do with like hours and days and months and seconds and stuff like that. Like that concept, that human concept of time doesn't apply when you're in the astral realm. So, astral projecting is not something I recommend doing unless you are very well versed in protecting your spirit, because personally there's been some places years back where I accidentally astral projected and my vessel uh, almost passed because I got stuck in this timeline with an entity that was trying to take me out and did some damage. And I didn't know really what's going on. And I'm very thankful that I have a very strong spirit team, because I probably would not have made it back. I would have passed in my sleep, and who knows how they would have diagnosed that. But from then on, I made it very clear to my spirit team, to the universe, to my higher self, that I do not want to astral project. I tried to block that every way I could. Of course, it still happens because sometimes your soul gets pulled to an energetic frequency, and you can't really control it. It's similar to like a tractor beam of sorts, you could say. Come here, you're okay. Come on, I know. Come on. So, come here. Come see Mama. She has to say hi. Don't blow your nose on that. So you have to be very, very careful and make sure that you are, essentially saying your prayers when you go to sleep. And I know a lot of people might hear that and say, well, how effective is it really? It depends on your spiritual team. It depends on how well you know your higher self, how well you're able to control your vessel, but also your spirit separately, be able to control them separately, but also together when they're conjoined together. You have to be able to learn how to control that and keep yourself safe, and just be aware that things can happen. Like, you can't astral project with the mindset that nothing's going to happen to you, because things do happen. So that's astral projecting. It can get a little bit trickier, getting into more specifics of that, about specifically how you astral project and how you can control for how long and where you go and who comes with you and who comes back with you and who doesn't. Like, there's so many other avenues that fall under the umbrella of astral projecting that it's a lot to really discuss in one episode. So that will have to be revisited in future episodes, because it all kind of commingles. It's all tied together. So remote viewing is something that, how do I describe it? But basically, in my own personal experience, when I am remote viewing, my soul does not leave my body. My vessel doesn't go dormant. Like, I don't fall asleep. I don't go, like, where I'm not lucid or anything. I still have control over everything. I know what's going on. I'm aware. But it's your conscience of your soul. So it's like the mindset of your soul, like the programming of your soul, that is able to basically peek into another room, another realm, another situation, a house, a land, a person's mentality, what somebody's doing. There's a lot of different places you can go and people you can visit when you remote view. It's not necessarily only pertains to 3D places like, I don't know, Joshua Tree, but it also pertains to 5D places like other galaxies and other timelines and things of that nature. Remote viewing is also dangerous, because if you end up remote viewing someplace that's classified, like Area 51, and they catch you, because they will catch you, it can cause physical damage to your vessel because the way that they kick you out, and it's happened to me a couple times, although I'm not crazy enough to try to dare remote view somewhere classified because I know exactly what would happen. But the few places that I have remote viewed where there have been other seers or other energetic frequency beings that have a higher ranking than what mine is and like don't want me being there, it's typically places I've accidentally remote viewed, where it's kind of like my soul's energy, my soul's consciousness pulled to this area, or pulled to this person, or pulled to this realm. So remote viewing is basically being able to see exactly what it is in that room. Like, for instance, I had a client I did a reading for a couple months ago. Well, she messaged me back later and said, hey, my husband lost his wallet with his driver's license. Do you think you can kind of feel the energy and see where it is? And so I kind of just said, give me a couple minutes. And I kind of sat there and just cleared my mind and cleared my energy and closed my eyes. And then I was able to focus on her energy. So it's basically focusing on an energetic signature, which led me to exactly where she was sitting at, why she was texting me. So I was able to see basically as if I was her. Like, I could see her body, I could see the phone in her hand, I could see the bed, I could see the floor, I could see the dresser, the door, I could see everything. Not like clear as day, but you can see it. It basically comes to you in like snapshots. There's a lot of um, what I would call like a darker mist, but it's not demonic mist. It's like a veiling mist, like a protection mist for that person, for my clients. Their energetic team, their spiritual team puts like a protection mist around them so that nobody can just like see right into it. So I was able to see, and I told her, I said, look at the dresser where the wallet, where the watch is. There's a watch on this dresser. And she's like, okay, hold on, let me go back to the bedroom. And she's like, what are you talking about? I said, it feels like there's something that's behind there, that's some sort of ID or something that might have been where it fell. And she said, okay, we do have a dresser that has a watch sitting on it, so let me look there. It didn't end up being there, not the wallet. She did find another ID card of her husband's, but it wasn't the one she was looking for. So, where she actually ended up finding the wallet, I don't know. She never told me. But that is my example of being able to remote view, how I was able to basically put myself in her house, in her bedroom, and say, okay, look here, I'm seeing this darker dresser with a watch sitting on top. I'm seeing, clothes sitting on the bed. And she was kind of laughing. She's like, it's a little creepy that you could do that, but it's also really cool. So, and then from there, you have to make sure that you close out the energetic portal, because if you don't, it's like a phone line. It just stays open. So anything can come and go. So you have to make sure that you're very diligent and disciplined about closing out those energetic portals, closing out the energetic lines, not just on their side for their safety, but on your side for your safety. Because even though I was remote viewing something that was a very positive, happy situation and place, it doesn't mean that other entities who happen to see that portal open don't, sometimes they want to like frog jump through a portal, even secondarily. And sometimes when they're jumping through that portal, they can get pulled to you if your energy's strong enough. So you have to be very diligent about, I'm closing out of these circles. Nothing, nobody, no situation, no yada 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 has access to my energy. It must all be closed, and only for my greatest highest good is what is allowed to come around me, come near me, come open any timelines, etc. So the specific verbiage about how you go about that is going to be very specific to you, your spirit team, your beliefs. What works for me is not necessarily going to work for you. What works good for you isn't necessarily going to work for me, and that's okay. We all have different methods, we all have different beliefs, we all have different things that work for us, that call to our energy, and others that kind of repel it. And if it's not the same as mine, as somebody else's, that's okay. It's okay for it to be individual. So I've covered timeline jumping and remote viewing, or no, astral projecting and remote viewing, sorry. Timeline jumping is the next one. See, all three of these, what they have in common is that they all work on the same energetic frequencies. When we're talking about 5D and 3D and the bridge that gaps that, there were energetic frequencies. To me, it shows up as like a highway, okay? But it doesn't just go on this way forever. It's like 5 or 6 lanes and then it just goes that way forever. So that's the way it kind of shows up to me, and how they work independently but also for the same goal. Because in all three of remote viewing, astral projection, and timeline jumping, involves either your soul or your soul's conscious, which is basically a part of your soul, transporting, basically teleporting, if you will, to a different location or a different timeline. So they have that in common. They also have in common that most of the time, if not all of the time, you are aware of what's going on. You're lucid. You might not remember it, but you're aware. And thirdly, the last thing they have all in common is that they are portals for entities, good and bad. So you have to be very careful what energy you're sending over there, your state of mind when you're jumping to another timeline, or you're astral projecting, or you're remote viewing. You have to be very conscious about what is in your heart, what is in your mind, what's the energy that you're putting out. Because if it's angry and depressed, you're going to be a lot more likely to attract entities that want to siphon negative things off you. You become like a lighthouse beacon. And it's not fun. It's happened to me. It's happened to countless other people that I know, that I've spoken to, stories that I've read, people I've interacted with. It happens a lot. The reason why it's not more widely talked about is a whole plethora of reasons, but there's a lot of dangers to it, and there are different elements of danger. So you have to be very careful when you decide that I'm going to start learning how to remote view, or I'm going to start learning how to astral project. So timeline jumping is something that you can do when you are either awake or asleep. It tends to be more prevalent with happening while you're asleep, because your mind is more subdued, because you're typically in REM sleep. And timeline jumping is basically jumping to an alternate universe. And there are many alternate universes that are very similar to Earth, to the timeline we're in right now, to where all the people are at and the way things are going and the things that we're used to in the 3D. There's a lot of timelines that are very similar to that, but they may have one or two variations. There are timelines that are so vastly different, like whatever your wildest imagination can conjure as a place or a planet or as a being or an entity, or like weather or technology or animals or lack thereof, there's a timeline that suits that. If any of y'all remember, and I know my OGs are going to remember, like the episodes of Star Trek when they would just teleport to different worlds, that's basically what the timelines are. Some of them are prehistoric, some of them are futuristic, some of them are now, some of them are just completely foreign worlds, with real live aliens walking around. Some of them are just timelines where it's just a vast expanse of land and nothing, like literally nothing else. No other life forms. And on those timelines, you don't exist as a life form, you exist as an energetic frequency. But you still have the lucidity of the conscious mind in your soul, because they're not one and the same, but they're commingled. You can't really separate the consciousness of the soul from the soul. At least not in my experience. I've not seen it, I've not read about it. So timeline jumping is very similar to remote viewing and astral projecting in the way that it's something that you can accidentally do. Like typically it happens most of the time when you're asleep and you're having dreams. Most of your dreams are not actually what societal psychologists and psychotherapists would say is a dream, like what they would say would encompass as a dream, they're timelines that you're jumping to. And a lot of times you're remembering all of it and it's very vivid and it sticks with you when you wake up. And other times it's just fleeting, like a smidge of an image is all you're seeing and all you're remembering. And they're just pieces to the puzzle. A lot of timelines that you can jump to and then you never go to again. It's like a weird random dream and you just never have it again. And that's what that timeline is. So you can, I don't know how I want to say this. You can train your soul and your subconscious, like your spiritual conscious mind. You can train them to jump to timelines that are for your greatest highest good. And when I say that, I mean timelines where you're meeting healthier versions of yourself or part of your soul family or soul pets. Excuse me. Or it's just an advanced timeline from where we already are, or there's snippets of technology that maybe are supposed to be embedded in your brain to come back so that you can kind of be like an inventor of sorts. Side note, we're actually about to jump into another timeline on this next Mercury retrograde, which starts, I believe, in July. I have to double check that, so don't quote me. But this next Mercury retrograde is going to be significantly different from previous retrogrades. How everything kind of goes in reverse, and communication and technology is problematic, and there's misunderstandings. Also, superstition is, although I don't believe it's a superstition, is not signing any documents, especially anything that's legal or anything tied to your emotions during the Mercury retrograde, because it doesn't always pan out the way it's supposed to if the energetic frequencies were not reversing on themselves. So this next Mercury retrograde that we're going to go into is going to put us into a timeline that is of more light, of more compassion. And we're already starting to see it because we're getting closer and closer to this next Mercury retrograde and this next timeline. But we're really going to see it when communities, neighborhoods start really coming together, and you're going to see more neighborhood dads and neighborhood moms and kids out riding their bikes and people out doing, like neighborhood dog walks, and there's going to be more block parties, and there's just going to be more outside with your neighbors in nature, just enjoying yourselves, enjoying other people, building connections, building villages, building communities. There's going to be a lot more compassion. There's going to be still the element of violence because it's going to take a while for that to reduce. But the more compassion grows and the more that it's spread and utilized and mirrored back and forth between humans and animals and nature and universe, the less the violence is going to become. And so this next timeline, we're going to start seeing a lot more of it. Like, I'm seeing they're almost like, I don't even know what you would call them, because they're not protests, but more of like gatherings in the streets and public squares and parks. But they're not protests, they're not silent protests, they're not like we're going to take over and this. It's more of like we're coming together as humans to grow and learn and help heal and educate each other, because what I might be lacking, my neighbor or somebody might possess. And if we can spread a little bit more compassion among each other, that will foster and it will grow, and that will change the lives of so many people. So timeline jumping it's not a bad thing. Collectively, it's really a good thing. And I have noticed with a lot of timeline jumps, it seems like the last few days into the first couple days of the new timeline, things are uncertain. There's like a Twilight Zone type of feel. Everybody can feel the energy. It's kind of spicy, but wild, but powerful. But there's a little bit of like sadness almost to it, like a stoicism to the energy. And that's kind of how you know when you've transitioned from one timeline into the other. And we're just going to keep transitioning into higher and higher light timelines because the numbers of hybrid humans that are sleeping are now waking up and waking up others. We're discovering a lot of these things that we thought were conspiracy theories are actually coming to be true. We're discovering that people who were previously diagnosed with personality, mood, and mental health disorders really aren't mentally ill. Like, they really don't have a problem. Like a lot of nonverbal autistics. I firmly believe that they are, one, hybrid humans, but two, are very newly incarnated souls. And that's another episode for another day. I'll get into about my theory on autistics and how I think they're hybrid humans. But we're going to start seeing a lot more seers, a lot more people like me, a lot more people not just questioning the truth, but putting a different spin, giving it a different perspective, asking more questions, more informed questions, wanting to learn, wanting to grow, wanting to, maybe have Grandma Kelsey teach you how to sew or something. I mean, we're just going to start seeing a lot more people wanting to be community and actually making it happen because I'm seeing it, I'm hearing it, I'm reading about it. People that just, they want family, they want community. And how do I start? Where do I go? What do I do? You start with compassion. First, with yourself. You have to have compassion with yourself. And when you have compassion for yourself, it's easy. It's so easy to give compassion to other people. And let me tell you, some of the most ill-mannered people I have ever met are lacking the deepest compassion. Like, if they just had one person give them a hug or help them get their groceries in the door or something, or sit and listen to them for 10 minutes while they're upset, like, imagine how many lives we could change. Just imagine. It would be amazing.